Hi friends, I've been tagged to a video response to Kelly Pear's 54321 Tarot, and Scarlet Moon Creations tagged me. And I don't normally do tags. I haven't, I think I've done one in since I've had my channel up. So yeah, it's unusual for me. So anyway, because I have been nominated to do it, then here I am. So the prompts are 5 tarot decks, 4 books, 3 spreads, 2 tarot habits and or paraphernalia, 1 piece of tarot advice or a card you wish to embody and why. What I thought I would do for the tarot decks, I've been thinking about this all last night actually, was tarot decks I feel really privileged to own and the reasons why. So that's what I'm going to do for the decks. So I'm going to start off with this little baby here. This is very special to me. This is the Wild Spirit Tarot by Poppy Palin. And yes, it's got a hairband around it, and that's how Poppy sent it to me. And Poppy actually gifted me this deck. Poppy Palin you might know from the Everyday Enchantment Tarot, which is this one, which is never very far from me. Never very far at all. I absolutely adore this deck. And I even have one with trimmed borders. I've got 2 versions, one with trimmed borders and one normal size. Now, I can link below, but right early on in my channel, I did a comparison between the 2 decks, between this one, the Enchantment, Everyday Enchantment, and then this one. I did side by sides. I talked about it quite a lot actually because, yeah, why not? Anyway, of course, sadly, Poppy is no longer with us. But I can't remember the history of this. It is so long ago. She sent it to me, she gifted it to me, she didn't charge me for it, and it was a long time ago. And I know it's really hard to get hold of this deck actually. It's not readily available, and of course now she's passed, I don't know, you know, if anyone's going to publish it again. But it is so fey, it's so beautiful, and it's such a departure. This to me feels like original Poppy, right? Whereas the Everyday Enchantment feels like modern Poppy, if you like. This is such a fey energy, and although we do have fey in this deck, she hasn't taken fey out at all. They're in every card. If you look, you'll find fey in absolutely every card. There's one there, quite a prominent one there. But yeah, every card contains fey, so she stayed true to her original fey, and they were very much part of her practice actually. But this is totally a fey deck, and I think her artwork is so expressive. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me it's everything, and this deck is so precious to me, and I just feel so privileged to own this. Especially the fact that Poppy sent it to me. She sent it with a hairband. You know, this just feels so imbued with Poppy's energy for me, and that's why I feel so privileged. I'm getting shivers, but I feel so privileged to actually have this deck, and it never goes away. I've always got it to hand, always got this one to hand. Yeah, so that's one deck I feel very privileged to own. There is a guidebook actually, Stories of the Wild Spirit, here. Maybe zoom out a bit. Yeah, it's quite a nice size one, lots of information, and I do think you can still get the book, but not so much the cards. So who published the book? Again, I've had it so long. Oh, it's a Llewellyn. So you might be able to get it, and this was published in 2002. Yeah, this is the original one. It's 2002. So yeah, and that was probably around the time that she gifted me the deck actually, when I think about it. It probably was back then. So yeah, and she was living not too far from me as well, so that was great, but I never actually got to meet her. That's one regret. But I have the deck, and that's fantastic. Okay, so another Fae deck that I feel really privileged to have is Brian and Wendy Froud's Heart of Fairy Oracle. This is the guidebook, and this was 2010, I think. But yeah, this is a hard to get. Let's move the book out of the way because it's honing on some images, shall I? Yeah, it's a pretty difficult one to get hold of now. And the cardstock's really thin. Oh, but it's such a beautiful deck. Such a beautiful deck. I can't remember where I bought this, or that's the trouble, isn't it, when you've been doing this so long. I never made records of where I bought things. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. But yeah, it is. I feel so privileged to actually own this deck. I know it's very coveted. Very coveted deck, but it's for a good reason. It's absolutely stunning artwork. I mean, I love the film The Labyrinth, you know, with David Bowie. One of my all-time favourites. So yeah, this is the back of the cards. But yeah, it's just got a fantastically emotive and expressionist art style to it. And you know, you can almost smell the forest in this deck. So many amazing energies in it. And a delight to work with. So that's the second deck that I feel privileged, so very privileged to own. This is the guidebook. Here we've got fairy queens, queens consorts, archetypes, sprites, the ladies, tricksters, and the journey. The end is the beginning. I mean, even just like these illustrations here. Amazing, amazing. So yeah, that's the Heart of Fairy Oracle by Brian and Wendy Froud. On to the next one. So the next one is the first edition of the Marielle Tarot by Marie White. I've got the second edition as well because it's such a brilliant deck. I wanted both versions, but there are slight changes in the cards. Some of them have been changed because of popular opinion, but yeah, this is an absolutely stunning deck, and it takes some learning. It's not very straightforward as a deck, but the images, see if we can get them out of the box. I try to keep this one as careful as I can because I know it's precious to me. So let's get it out of the box. It's beautiful, isn't it? I don't know. I just think this is a stunning deck. It calls to some sort of primeval part of me. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know a lot because it's difficult to put this one into words. For me, it's so another emotive deck, I think. It just brings out some sort of feeling in me that nothing else does, really. And I feel so privileged to actually have the first edition. I'm going to try and find... There's a card that I keep out in the second edition, because I think it's just amazing. I might actually go and get the second edition just to compare. That one. That's the card. Now, Temperance is one of my birth cards. I'm a Sagittarian, so yeah, Temperance is actually one of the cards assigned to a Sagittarian, and this gives me courage. This is a card that I tend to put on display when I need to be brave, really, you know, to bring out the inner tiger. You know, many years ago I worked for a petrol company called Esso. One of their taglines, or I don't know what you call it, but it used to be, put a tiger in your tank. Which I thought, yeah, put a tiger in your tank. So this has got black borders on this one. I've just been and fetched the second edition just to show the difference quickly, because I know that's not what this video is about, but just quickly to show you that these are borderless, which is what I actually like about this. And they've also got this sort of silver gilded edging that's coming off because I use it. But yeah, it's exactly the same picture there, but without the borders. So, you know, that's brilliant to have one without borders. It's just a shame that one of my favourite cards, which is controversial, I'll find actually, one of the ones that was changed was the Hierophant, because yeah, I don't think it went down very well, this card. I think it was quite a controversial depiction of the Hierophant, and so it was changed. See if I can find it in this one. Yeah, it was changed to this one. Let's get these out of the way so it's not so confusing. Yeah, from that one to that one. So a real difference in imagery there. And it wasn't the only card that was changed. But the other thing that I wanted to say about the differences between the deck is how different it is borderless. And I think it's better borderless. I think it needs to be borderless. It's just such a shame that they've changed the original deck. But if you can see how vibrant this one is without the borders, I don't know, it's just, I like it better without the borders. One of my favourite cards is the Emperor. That is such an amazing, amazing depiction. But yeah, if I had my dream version of the Marielle deck, it would be the first edition, but borderless. But I do feel very privileged to have in my hands the first edition, and I bought it when it first came out. The deck I'm going to show is the Vampire Tarot by Robert M. Place, and I was lucky to get this second hand from someone who was selling it. Look at that script, isn't it just to die for? To die for. Vampires, yes. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. And I didn't used to like his art style at one point, but you know, it's really grown on me. And it came in this bag because, as I said, I bought it from another tarot sister. So they provided it in this beautiful bag. Oh, I just feel so privileged to have this deck. Last sewing, I actually did a silent walkthrough of this deck called No Tricks, Just a Treat. So yeah, this is an amazing deck. They also took the borders off and it's square, it hasn't been rounded, but I don't really want to round it because I think it's going to take some of the image off, but I don't mind it being squared off, it doesn't bother me. That's the backs. So yeah, this is the beautiful, beautiful Vampire Tarot. And what I like about this is, as well, we've got some famous figures on here, including our own Pixie, which I think is great. Such a nice addition to it. So here we've got Sir Henry Irving. Here she is, Pamela Coleman Smith, Queen of the Holy Waters. Isn't that just fantastic? So yeah, some famous figures. It's quite pippish, sort of. It has got illustrations, but yeah, it's got quite pippish sort of feel to it, but with the illustrations in the background. It's just beautiful. Just beautiful. The Nightmare of Life in Death. It's just such a unique deck, this one. It's I've never seen anything. I mean, there's lots of vampire tarot genres about, isn't there? Is that the right word? But the genre of vampires in tarot, there's quite a few of them, and I've got quite a few myself actually. But nothing like this. This is unique, in my opinion. Absolutely unique. We've even got the Stokers, Florence Stoker, Bram Stoker themselves. How about that? So I took Kai to the vets one day, and while I was waiting for him, I was sat in the car, and it's been black edged as well. Look at that. Oh, gorgeous. I went through the guidebook, and it is amazing. But then what would you expect from Robert M. Place but an amazing guidebook? It is just truly amazing. So much information. It's all tabbed. But yeah, so much information in this, and it's just a delight. It's an absolute delight of a book. Like I say, I've done a walkthrough. I just showed the cards actually on that video, so I'll link it below. So the final deck in this category of my decks I feel so privileged to have is my unicorn deck. I've got my unicorn deck, and it's a deck I would never be able to afford, and I made a decision because somebody wanted to swap for one of the decks that I have. So I made a decision to let that deck go, and the deck that I let go was a Barber Studio deck. Beautiful cold pressed Victorian romantic tarot. And the deck I swapped it for, from a lovely tarot sister in America, and there was a bit of a, what should we say, it took a while for it to actually safely get here, but it did, and it's this one. I can't believe I've got this deck. You know, I put it out there in the universe that I really want this deck. This, if the house was on fire, this is the one that I would take above all others. It's Anna Turian's beautiful artwork. I do have the sketchbook edition because that was the closest I could get. And I think I've got every Anna Turian deck there is, apart from the new Arthurian one, because it's all in French, and I'm like, maybe I'll wait and see if someone, you know, publisher takes it up and does an English language version of it, and then I will definitely get it. But if not, I'll get the French one. I'm such a fan of their art. I heard the other day that Avalon Cameron has gone for heart surgery. I actually didn't know she was poorly. I don't follow her on social media, but yeah, it came up, so healing thoughts going out to Avalon. But yeah, the Bone Stone and Earthflesh. I have videoed myself unboxing this for the very first time and my reaction to it. I haven't published it yet. I might do, but I got over enthusiastic and I haven't worked with it yet. It's one of those decks I feel like I should be wearing white gloves to get it. But look at the size of this companion book. I am so looking forward to delving into this, and it's not even been used. Look at that. The spine hasn't been broken. This is in absolute perfect condition. I couldn't have asked for better. And I thank you so much, my tarot sister, for swapping with me. I know that they're absolutely delighted with their Barber Studio deck, and I am absolutely delighted with my Bone Stone and Earthflesh tarot. So I feel very privileged to own this deck after all this time. I know there is going to be a mass market edition of this deck coming out, but it will not have all of the same images, and so I'm still happy that I've got my first edition. So yeah, that's the Bone Stone and Earthflesh tarot by Anna Turian and Avalon Cameron, who's an absolute expert in tarot. those edges. Anyway, I might put up the video of me opening this, because what I did was, before I actually let go of the Barber Studios deck, I videoed every card. So I could look back on it, you know, so I'd always have a record of that deck and every card in it. But I wouldn't bore everybody with that. I'll do a condensed version of the video, edit it down. But yeah, that's my unicorn deck. It's in my hands. You can't know how happy this makes me. You can't know. Anyway, yeah, those are the 5 decks that I feel really, really privileged to have in my collection. I do feel really privileged, you know, to have some amazing decks that, because I've been collecting for so many years, I have decks now that are really difficult to find. But yeah, those are just the ones I wanted to feature in this one. Okay, books. This one. Oh, this one. This beautiful, massive Deviant Moon Tarot guidebook is everything. Absolutely everything. This is the first edition, 2016. In this, Patrick Valenza goes through how the deck was conceived, the background to it, the photographs, drawings, his background. This is him as a child drawing. But yeah, it's just full of information. So good. And the pictures are so big, you know, of the deck. Look at that. There's images in here you can't find anywhere else. And, you know, even just as a coffee table book, it would be good. But it's just full of information. It's one of my absolute favourite books. Look at this. I do love me some Patrick Valenza artwork. And I've got quite a few of his decks. I've got the Zama Twins Oracle. He's just sent me the guidebook to that, actually. The Trionfi de la Luna. I've got the Pips edition. I've got the illustrated edition. What else have I got? I've got quite a few of his decks. A Beast pack. Anyway, yeah. I tended to keep them all together, actually. The problem is, you know, because he's so far away, because I'm in the UK, postage and everything is just ridiculous. And there are so many decks I would like that come from America that there's absolutely no way I would ever be able to afford to have them in this country. I think if I can go to America on holiday, what I might do, I mean, I'm saving up to go to America on holiday, but what I might do, the thought of doing, isn't that good how you put the heart in the middle there? I don't think that's actually on the card, it's just a show. Anyway, yeah, if ever I do get to go to America, I'm going to have to save up a lot, because what I would intend to do is order all those American decks that I can't get in the UK so that I can bring them back with me. That's a plan anyway. Look at this. Even look at this, the girl in the ground. A piece torn from a blanket, I'll read it here. A piece torn from a blanket was used to create the girl's tattered clothing. It was buried for weeks and then left out in the rain to give it the rugged effect I was looking for. And this is the girl in the ground is dreaming again. So much effort is put into his artwork. It's just everything. It's got a real Punch and Judy feel, that one. Anyway, that's the first book I wanted to show. So just to say, all 4 books that I'm looking at today, or sharing with you today, are companion books to tarot decks. There are books I would have thought for, you know, learning tarot and that. I mean, I've got a whole library. However, I thought I'd stick to one theme so as not to confuse. Anyway, so this one is the Book of Pandas, and this goes with the Way of the Panda Tarot, which is so cute. It's one of my cutest decks. But what I like about this book, this is the author, the illustrator, is the way it's written. Because it's written with the voice of the panda. So, and it's so funny. But also, we get spreads. As we go along, there's actual spreads that we can use. Activating your inner air panda, a ritual for speaking your truths. Isn't that brilliant? Pondering Panda, that's maybe some journal prompts. So good. This is just such an amazing guidebook. It's worth it even if you haven't got the deck. It doesn't actually show the images from the deck in this, but as a workbook it would be great anyway. Panda for hire. Called upon Prince Charles when we're in need of a little romance. Well, Panda disclaimer. Sometimes our Prince Charles can be a little too much of a walking rom-com. The way it's put across is almost childish, but with an underlying message, it's so good. Three of Swords is usually a difficult card. And then it says like this: reality is harsh, it is hard to look at, but I must turn my gaze towards it, for this is the price of truth. P.S. I am not dead, just resting with a book on my back that I stabbed. Just so done with the world, really. I don't care anymore. Contrary to popular belief, Clover is not dead. She's a little melodramatic with the things she finds immediately unsettling. Like the book she was reading, for example, she was unexpectedly confronted with something so shocking and distorting that her sense of self and reality shatters a little. Out of anger, resentment and grief, she stabbed the covers with 3 swords, and now she's draped herself over a tree stump, making a total scene. As she hangs with her limbs loose and helpless, her favourite glasses break and fall to the ground. Everything seems to be happening in slow motion, and of course, to top it off, it's raining. Cue sad violin. Whatever. Fine by her, nothing to see here, just a panda with a broken worldview and a bleeding soul. Shoo, shoo. We know what we know. Three of Swords is a shocking moment of contradicting realities clashing towards each other. It tells you what the Three of Swords is about. If you need to cry, you should. And if you ever need to shop on Pamazon, Clover has premium discount codes for being a Prime member. Make sure you hit her up before you commit to any major shopping. It's hilarious. I love this book. Panda power up, and you know, some good advice. The Hierophant's Guide to Conquering the World. I could go on, and I won't go on and on. Buy the book. Buy the book. It's so fantabulous. Pandas, even if you don't buy the deck. So that's the Book of Pandas by Kimberly Tizan. So the fourth and final book is another huge one, and it's one I've actually just put up on my channel actually, and it's the guidebook to the Terra Volatile. And I've been holding off using the actual deck. It's a massive deck. It's got an extra suit, and it's also got an expansion pack. It's just so much to that deck that I held off until I actually bought the guidebook. And I'm glad I did, because this is fantastic. It's another what feels like an art book. It really does. If you like art, which most of us, let's face it, most of us like art. That's why we're in. One of the reasons we love tarot is the artwork. If you're anything like me, I'm just an art fan, shall we say. I just love art, and this satisfies that love, really. Absolutely. It's got beautiful full colour images. I can't even get them all on screen, they're so big. And then we have some information about the card itself. We have alternative cards that have also been included. In fact, there was an extra 2 cards included with the book, exclusively for the book. So look at this for the 5 of coins. Absolutely beautiful. I've got the elements as well, for coins. Yeah, so that's the final book I recommend. Let's have a look at some devils, because that's always good fun, isn't it? There's one. I mean, you know, that is just an archetypal devil right there, isn't it? Bondage, addiction, materialism and lack of control. Look at this. Satan with demons in a Gothic cathedral. 1829. So we have got actual historical artwork in here as well. That's the deck. We got an 1844 illustration. Look at this. Yeah, this is just a work of art. If you like art, you will love this book. So yeah, that's the 4th book in my 4 books. So it's 5 decks, 4 books, and then what is it, 3 spreads. So 3 tarot spreads. This is, by the way, Tarot de Luz. Love this deck. Again, I did some videos on this deck, which is, it's a beautiful deck. Anyway, tarot card spreads. If I was doing a normal daily spread, one of my favourites is a 3-card one, which is energy obstacle advice. So we would have the energy for the day. Nice. You might have to make some choices there. The obstacle, 8 of Pentacles, so we've got to put the work in. And advice, 7 of Cups. Yeah, don't be dreaming, don't be daydreaming. So yeah, that would be my quick 3-card morning or evening spread, depending on what's happening in the day. Now, I was brought up on the Celtic Cross. The Celtic Cross is my go-to spread for reading for other people, or if I want to delve deeper into a question. Actually, these aren't going to fit on screen when I do the Celtic Cross, so I think what I will do is do I've got this tiny Rider-Waite here, so I'll just explain it with that, as I don't want to make the assumption that everybody that's watching this knows what the Celtic Cross consists of. So I'll just go through it with you here. So basically it's a 10-card spread in the shape of, as it says, a Celtic Cross. I'll put up a picture of a Celtic Cross above so you can see what I mean, but the middle part of it is the top of the Celtic Cross. It's the circle and then the positions on that have been attributed to it, and then the side cards are the stem of that cross. So over time I've actually seen a few variations of this, to be fair, but I'll just show the one that I tend to use. So this is the situation card. This is what the reading is all about. So that's card 1. Card 2, that's what's crossing the situation. You can see I actually haven't shuffled these very well, so this wouldn't be a real reading anyway. But anyway, that's what crosses that situation. You know, what we need to overcome, what we need to know, what the challenge is really. Then the 3rd card I usually do is the immediate past. So what's immediately been happening, you know, quite recently to influence this situation. Then I put down the immediate future. So based on what's happening right now, what the immediate future could look like. Then I put a card underneath. And this is what's the underlying energy, because it's underneath. Makes sense, doesn't it? So that's the underlying influence or energy that's affecting this situation. Then I put one here, and then this is, it's kind of like an outcome card, you know, a possible outcome. Then, so that's the centre of the cross. Then we go down here, up here with 4 cards, which is the stem of the cross. So we'd have, make sure I'm on screen, 1, 2, 3, 4 cards here. So this one would be how others are influencing the situation, other people in your life are influencing the situation, or how they see the situation, or even how they see you in the situation. This one is sort of your own viewpoint of the situation, where you're coming from. This one is your hopes and fears, you know, what your worries, your concerns, but also what you're hoping for. So that's that card there. And then the final card can be the outcome. So we've got 2 possible outcome cards here. And so that then can bring about a further conversation, you know, with these outcome cards. Anyway, that's how I do it. Now, I've seen other versions of this, so in the same layout, in the same positions, but then different position meanings. Okay, so just for example, one that Marcus Katz does, again, card 1 is the situation, and again card 2 is the card that challenges that situation. Card 3 is what they call the current past, so it's pretty much the same, and then this one would be the current future, so pretty much the same there, not much changed. But underneath this card here is resources. So what resources you could use to help you in this situation. And then this one is the aim. What are you aiming for regarding the situation? So those two cards are different to the way I do it. So this card is how the querent sees themselves. This card is how other people see the querent. This card is concerns, so that sort of goes along with my hopes and fears card. And then the final card is the actual outcome. So that's a little bit different to the one I've always done. Okay, and then I was just looking in the Solitary Witch Oracle actually, which I've just opened and done a review of not very long ago. And in it, Lucy Cavendish has an alternative Celtic Cross, which I thought was quite interesting, one I actually might try. So again, we've got the same positions here, but we have different different position meanings. So in Lucy's book, card 1 is the actual querent, the seeker, the person come to you for the reading. That might be yourself or it might be somebody else. The second card is the situation you're in. So that's different, isn't it? That's, instead of card 1 being the situation, card 2 is the actual situation, whereas the first card is the person that's come for the reading. So that's different. This one is the past. And then this is card 4 in Lucy's layout. And this is the very recent past and the present. So completely different. This card is the future. Then we have the outcome as being this one here. So quite similar. This is the outcome. Card 7, which is this one at the base, is what the seeker wants. Then this one, how people see the seeker. So card 7, Lucy has what the seeker wants. Card 8, how people see the seeker. So I would have had how people see the seeker there. Card 9, what you fear. So I had hopes and fears for that one. And then card 10 is the best possible action. So yes, so the outcome there, but the best possible action is there. So yeah, that's a little bit of a different take on the Celtic Cross from Lucy Cavendish. What I've been doing this year is using this book here, Tarot by the Moon, which is brilliant. I really like this book. Am I cheating by putting another book on? But this is very true. Let's just show you an example by showing you this last month. So September is the harvest moon. So it talks about what the harvest moon is all about. And there's an interview with the tarot reader. Then we have spreads. So we've got welcoming the harvest, shifting your focus, spiritual illumination. So, you know, we go from really small spreads to quite large ones in this book. What is ready to be released? Clearing clutter. And then we were talking about intentions and mantras. Opportunities for change. This is a really good one. Really good spread. You've got two paths. One path you could follow and another. And then we have spells and rituals, and so what you need, and usually it's stuff that are quite easy to get hold of. So this one is something to write with, 3 sheets of paper, a chalice, a wine or apple cider for offering an apple, and then gathered up objects from nature such as acorns, seed pods, whatever. So, you know, really accessible. Yeah, so we have spell work and we have tarot spreads, and I've been using the tarot spreads in this book for this past year, and I'm going to do it again next year as well because it is so good. So those are the tarot spreads that I go to, some for personal work and some for others. So that's it, Victoria Constantino, and I have featured this book before. It's one of my favourites, so that's why I didn't put it on the book list, because you've already seen it, and I wanted to do it for this tarot spread section of the 54321. So two is, I think it's tarot paraphernalia, and for me it's always crystals. I've always got crystals around me because I'm a crystal therapist and have been a crystal therapist for many years, so crystals are part of who I am. They're not something I do, they're just inherent in everything. There's some really nice ones actually just here. Beautiful labradorite there, some clear quartz, got some citrine and some zoisite. So you have always got crystals around. It's everywhere, crystals. And then, oh, there's another one there. There's some carnelian. So yeah, always got crystals around. And then I don't go over the board with these sort of things, but I do have an Isis here because I think she's beautiful, and I do have my Gaia because I think she's beautiful as well. So yeah, and that's a tea light holder, and then you could put a crystal here or the other way around, whichever. But yeah, those are the paraphernalia. Well, covers that sort of that prompt. And then, oh, look at this crystal. See, there's crystals everywhere. Crystals everywhere. I've got like Rowan beads. I've just actually collected some more to do for this year. Here they are. Beautiful, aren't they? And these are trefoils as well. I haven't actually taken them from the branch. I've picked them from the ground, so I feel good about that. So yeah, that's there to be strong. So yeah, that's my. I think that's enough paraphernalia. Don't you? And then the final prompt, advice. I think it is advice. Okay, that's a difficult one. What advice would I give as a tarot reader? Trust yourself, I think, is the best one. I started because I've always been into book learning and reading books, and I started tarot back in the day reading books. In fact, I'll show you one of the first things. Well, on the second run. On the first run, there weren't really many books available back in the day. I had Rider-Waite-Smith. I had, actually, I've still got my originals. So this is my original Rider-Waite-Smith. You can see it's filthy. This is my absolute original Rider-Waite-Smith, first one I ever bought. I have my original Thoth, which is actually a greenie. This is the bag I made for it. So this is hard to get hold of as well, this one. This is what's called the greenie. It's got no borders on the back. Yeah, really difficult to get hold of this now, and yet, you know, it was readily available when I was first starting out. In fact, no, this was the second go around. Do you know, I get confused with time. Time really confuses me. When did I do that? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so my point in this actually is the fact, oh yeah, the IJJ Swiss, which I think was my very first one, which I put to one side because I didn't know what the heck that was about. And yeah, there were no books really. There was, you know, very, very few books. And I just got confused because I thought, because of the way that I've been educated, if you like, is to actually believe in books. And it took me a long, long time to realise that because something was written in a book doesn't actually mean it's true. It's somebody's opinion. And do you know how many years that took me to realise that a book on a subject, any academic subject, is a person's viewpoint. Yes, a lot of it is based on research, but what is research? Research is somebody else's viewpoint, and then going back to beyond that is somebody else's viewpoint. And I've learned over time that they're not always reliable viewpoints, even these, you know, gurus that we aspire to. So I think what I'm saying here is find a deck that you like, yeah, the artwork that you like, the aesthetic that you like, something that really draws you. For me, actually, it was the thoth. It was that greeny thoth. I was just enamoured with the images. Sorry, there's a plane going over, but I was enamoured with the images. I absolutely love them. And one of the reasons that I buy tarot decks and oracle decks is the imagery. It's the imagery. I've come to rely less on other people's viewpoints. I will take a book, read a book, and I'll extract from it those things that hold true for me. You know, those things that I can relate to, then they will add another layer to my practice. But what I won't do anymore, which is what I did right in the beginning, when I found a book, was thinking it was the Bible, if you like, the Tarot Bible. You know, this is the way it is, this is the way we learn, and this is... I don't know, I didn't even learn by doing it that way. That's not how I could learn. And that's weird because I am, you know, like I say, I'm brought up on book learning. So I'll just show you one thing. And this is just to illustrate that point. Okay. There is a book here called Around the Tarot in 78 Days. And when this first came out, and Marcus Katz and Tally Goodwin were promoting it, they did a course alongside it, which oh look, there's a Celtic Cross. There you go, Celtic Cross. There's the spread I was talking about. I've even bookmarked it there, look at that. But I did this whole course. And, you know, we even had extra work alongside the book to go along with it. So it was a good course. And at the end of it, I got a certificate for doing this course, and this was in 2012. Yeah, this is 2012, this certificate. I'm trying to cover up my information here. Anyway, yeah, so the Tarot Diploma from Tarosophy. And it's a lovely diploma, but is it worth anything? Well, probably not. I've done a few online courses, and this way. Yeah, I've done a few online courses for tarot, and I don't know if I've actually retained any information from them. But yeah, so yeah, that's my piece of advice really, is at the end of the day, trust yourself. Find a deck that you really like, one that you know you can connect to, one whose image is just like, yeah, I understand that. Intuitively, I get what that means. I can see it straight away exactly what this card means. And I don't need to know that the Wheel of Fortune means blah, 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 according to this book, you know. Find out what it means to you. And a really good way of doing that, actually, a brilliant way of doing that. And this is in the Mythic Tarot, actually. I'm sure that's where it was, in the Mythic Tarot workbook, is to take a card, and I couldn't do it with the Mythic Tarot because it's about myth, but to take a card and think of a time in your life when you felt that energy, you know, a time in your life when that energy was prevalent, when something happened that brings to mind, that this card brings to mind. So it's probably not the best deck to actually illustrate that with. Let's find something else. All right, let's do the everyday enchantment. This is getting to be a long video, actually. So, and it's a lovely guidebook in this one, actually, by the way. So, But yeah, this is a really good deck to do it with, actually. Just going to take some of them. So, have you ever worked in a kitchen? Or have you ever been in a situation where there's so much anger that you could actually cut it with a knife? And there you are, you've got that card. You don't even need to know what card that is. I know what card that is. Can you guess what card that is? I've cut the borders off so you don't know. Have you ever been to the hairdressers and felt like this woman? Good little dog there. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt such a rush like that? Where were you? What were you doing? And you are actually going to connect with the deck that way. There's some sad cards in here, that's what I'm going through. Like, yeah, there's a feeling we know, isn't there? There's a feeling we know. So this is a really, really good deck to actually do that with. And tell me, which card is that? Do you know? To me, it's really obvious. And yeah, I think these cards are so easy, I would say. The images on here are images I think most people can relate to. And so yeah, that's my advice really, is to find a deck that calls to you. Find a deck whose images speak to you. That's my granddad. Hey, it's my granddad. Yeah. Oh, God. Guess what card that is. Anyway, yeah, find a deck that speaks to you. And this is a deck that speaks to me. I can use this deck in any situation, and I can read really well with this deck. So I think that's the key to it really, is finding a deck where, because we're all from like different backgrounds, aren't we? We're all from different parts of the world, and so what works for me might not work for you. So it's difficult for me to give advice really in that respect. But yeah, that's my advice really. If I was to give advice, was to find a deck that actually you can relate to. One that speaks to you. And talking of speaking to you, there we go. Let's end on that. Beautiful Three of Cups moment. Anyway, so that's my response to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't think I'm going to tag anyone because I don't want to put pressure on anyone, to be fair. So if you want to do this tag, that's brilliant. It's a lovely tag. And yeah, until the next time, friends, thank you so much for watching. Bye now.